Hello and welcome to News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil. Joining me is Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hello, Neil, and hello, everybody. Yes, today's show is all about protests and demonstrations that took place in Russia over the weekend.
If you'd like to test yourself on the vocabulary you learn in this programme, there's a quiz on our website at bbclearningenglish.com. Now let's find out some more about the story from this BBC News report.
In the freezing cold, out they came. Thousands of protesters taking to the streets to demand change. In Vladivostok, in the far east of the country, there were scuffles with police as they tried to disrupt protests the Kremlin says are illegal. Putin is a thief, they shouted. Freedom to Navalny.
So, Alexei Navalny, the high-profile critic of Vladimir Putin, returned to Russia just over a week ago. He was arrested when he arrived in the country, and protesters have come out onto the streets of Russia in response to his requests for demonstrations. Now, these protests have taken place in hundreds of locations around the country. In Moscow, the riot police were out. They beat and dragged away some of the demonstrators. Observers are saying these are the largest protests that have happened in the country for about 10 years.
Okay, some really interesting language being used in the headlines around this story. You've found 3. What have you got, Catherine?
Yes, we have spell the end, downplays and echoes.
Spell the end, downplays and echoes. So let's start then with your first headline, please.
Yes, we're starting with The Independent here in the UK. The headline, Alexander Navalny's political gifts could spell the beginning of the end for Vladimir Putin.
Spell the end. Indicate a major change is going to happen.
Yes, now it's a 3-word expression. Spell, S-P-E-L-L, the, T-H-E, and end, E-N-D, spell the end.
Okay, well, the first word there is spell, which is something that you have just done. And the effect of spelling something is to make it really clear, isn't it?
Exactly that, yes. When you spell out a word, you say those letters that make up the word one by one, so it's really clear how you actually make that word. And if something spells the end for something, it makes it very, very clear that this thing is going to finish or come to an end.
Yes, and we use the preposition for, don't we, in this expression?
Yeah, something can spell the end for something else. One event can make it clear that another situation will finish.
So, for example, it is hoped by millions of people that the development of vaccines for coronavirus will spell the end for the pandemic.
Yes, that's a really good example. Yes, the pandemic has been going on for a while. There is lots of hope that the vaccines will bring the pandemic to an end, that the vaccines will spell an end for the pandemic.
Likewise, electric cars may well spell the end for the petrol engine.
Another good example, yep.
Now, the word spell that starts this expression is both regular and irregular in the past, isn't it?
Interesting word, yes. The past of spell is spelt, S-P-E-L-T, but it can also be spelled, S-P-E-L-L-E-D. Spelt or spelled, both have the same meaning. You can use whichever one you like.
Okay, let's get a summary. If you are interested in stories about protests, we have another one, haven't we, Catherine?
We do. This is an archive story about protests in Belarus. If you want to see that story, just click the link.
Okay, now your second headline, please.
And we're right here at the BBC for this one. The headline, Russia Navalny protests. Kremlin hits out at West as it downplays rallies.
Downplays. Makes something seem less important than it is.
Yes, 2-word expression here, but it's written as one word. Down, D-O-W-N, plays, P-L-A-Y-S. Put them together and you have the verb downplays.
Now, the first part of that word, down, it's quite clear to see that this carries the meaning of reduce something in importance. But plays, how does that work?
Yes, plays is interesting, isn't it? Well, plays, when you play a game, you often use strategy, don't you, in order to win the game, the best technique that gets you the result you want. And if you downplay something, it's really to do with a strategy for getting the result you want. And if the result you want depends on somebody thinking that something's not important, you're going to downplay the importance of that. You're going to minimize the importance so that you get what you want. So it's a kind of strategy related word.
Okay, so we can again use the example of coronavirus from the beginning and up to now. There are some people who downplay the threat of coronavirus.
There are, yes. A lot of people downplay the threat of coronavirus for various reasons. They want people to believe that it's not that serious or not that important.
Okay, so we have this word downplay. So the opposite, surely, Catherine, must be upplay.
You'd like to think so, yes, but I think it's not actually. You can't say downplay is upplay is the opposite, but we do have some expressions you can use. Very informally, you can say to big up, and if you big up something or you big something up, you make it seem more important than perhaps someone else thinks it is. Other words, you can play something up. You can talk something up as well. So a few phrasal verbs you can use there to make, which as the opposite of downplay.
Okay, and now this word downplay, it's neither formal nor informal. It can be used in any kind of situation.
Yeah, of course, yes. I mean, it's a politician's word. You know, people love the politicians always downplay things that are to their advantage and they big up other things. But let's say your kids don't want to go to bed, Neil, and they want to watch something on TV and you don't want them to stay up late, so you're going to downplay the importance of the programme they want to watch. So you'll say, oh, it's not so good, or we can watch it another time, and you won't like it anyway. It's a way of downplaying something to get the result you want.
Yeah, and they will never forgive me. Okay, let's get a summary. We have a news review with an example of some people downplaying an event. It was when the tennis player Novak Djokovic hit someone with the ball accidentally. Where can they find it, Catherine?
You can find it by clicking the link. I should say Djokovic didn't actually downplay the incident himself. He was very apologetic about hitting somebody with a tennis ball, but other people did downplay it. So click the link and find out more.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to our next headline, please.
And in the UK with the Financial Times, this headline, echoes of Belarus in Russia's Navalny protests.
Echoes, reminders of past events.
Yes, echoes, E-C-H-O-E-S. This is a noun. It can also be a verb. Neil, if you go into a very, very large room with a high ceiling, no doors, all the doors are closed, and you shout, news review! What will you hear?
News review. Yes, I hear echoes.
You do. It's the sound being repeated and repeated, exactly the same sound again and again. A lovely natural phenomenon is the echo, and we're using it here to describe when an event appears to happen again, or it's a reminder of a previous event. It's very similar to something that happened in the past. In this case, the comparison is the protests that are happening, or that happened at the weekend in Russia, to previous protests that happened in Belarus.
Yeah, and so it's the idea of repetition that connects the literal meaning to this figurative meaning.
Exactly that, yes.
Okay, we say in this expression an echo of something in something else.
You do, yes. It can be an echo of one thing in something else. So 80s pop music, for example. I know you're a big fan, aren't you, Neil, of 80s pop music?
Well, I grew up with it.
And some people say you can hear echoes of that pop music, 80s music, in some of today's pop music.
You can. There are definitely echoes of 80s pop in some of the current output by some of the bands around today.
And it means reminders of that music, certain things in the music which make you remember or sound similar to music from the past.
And this figurative use of echo can also be used as a verb. So we can say that someone echoes someone's opinion. It means they repeat their opinion.
Yes, absolutely. And we could also talk about echo chambers. And an echo chamber is a forum or an arena, especially on social media, where you only talk to people who share your opinions and share your views. So you don't listen to, or you don't become exposed to opposite or different ideas and views, and therefore your ideas get stronger because you only speak to people with the same ideas as you. An echo chamber.
That idea of repetition again.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a summary. Time now for a recap of the vocabulary, please, Catherine.
Yes, we have spell the end, indicate a major change is going to happen. We have downplays, make something seem less important than it is, and echoes, reminders of past events.
Don't forget to test yourself on the vocabulary. There's a quiz on our website, bbclearningenglish.com, and we are all over social media. Thanks for joining us. See you next time and stay safe. Bye.
Goodbye.